Hey, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my ideas about the Brene Brown, Joe Rogan, Spotify issue. I'm going to read her posts here. I'm going to share a couple of things that I'm thinking about. I feel very strongly about this issue, and I'm going to definitely come down on one side here and tell you why I feel that way. So for starters, what I want to say is I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. I have a lot of respect for her. I love her work. It's helped me immensely, right? Understand the root causes of maybe why I'm holding myself back in life, the shame and the guilt thing. Huge fan of her stuff. And I was kind of surprised to see her come down on the side of, wanting to, and she really hasn't said specifically what her wants are. She's alluding to the fact that she wants a misinformation policy in place, and I'll share my feelings about that in a moment here. But I think for starters, what I want to say, I want to read her posts to you if you're not familiar with them, and then we'll jump into some ideas. So the first post I want to share with you is from January 29th on her Instagram, and she posts this. She says, "I will not be releasing any podcasts until further notice. To our hashtag unlocking us and hashtag dare to lead communities, I'm sorry, and I'll let you know if and when that changes. Stay awkward, brave, and kind." Then on February 1st, she released a larger post where she's explaining herself, and I'll read this to you. It's a little long, so stick with me, and then I'll get into my ideas here after this post, after I read this. "An update on my decision to pause the podcasts. We often joke about Unlocking Us and Dare to Lead being pause casts, not podcasts. I have a habit of taking long pauses to think about a question or an answer. Last week, I took a bigger pause, and I'd like to walk you through it. On Saturday, January 29th, I posted across social media that I would not be releasing any podcasts until further notice. I had hundreds of comments across social media asking my opinion on the Spotify Joe Rogan issue, and I didn't know enough to comment. I didn't want to drop new podcasts without responding to the questions, so I decided to hold my podcasts and learn more. Because I had a podcast scheduled to release on 12:01 a.m. on January 31st and another on February 2nd, I thought it was important for weekly listeners to know that nothing would drop this week. I paused because as a creator with 2 podcasts exclusively on Spotify, I wanted to better understand the organization's misinformation policy. I wanted to talk to the Spotify leadership about their position, their policies, and the application of those policies. I met with them twice last week, and once again this week. I've listened, they've listened, and my assessment is that everyone is open and learning, including me. Sadly, on social media, my post has turned into a shit show, driven by unfounded accusations of censorship. Comments like, "I'm canceling you for canceling people," and "I hate censors, so you shut up," and "I'm burning your books because I don't agree with you," would be ironic and funny if they didn't demonstrate a complete lack of critical thinking. Okay? For everyone who said this pause was out of line with my work, you clearly skipped all of the places where I've talked about pausing, getting curious, and asking questions. Let me be clear. Number 1, I'm not interested in canceling or silencing or censoring anyone, including Joe Rogan. This was not, nor has it ever been, framed to the public or to Spotify as me or Joe, hard stop. Number 2, I do not support censorship. I have a long history of supporting free speech and supporting organizations that support free speech. My support for the First Amendment has been unwavering, even when what is being said turns my stomach. Some of my hardest moments as a social worker were defending the rights of people to speak their minds, even though I disagreed with every single word coming out of their mouths. Number 3, as a creator on Spotify, my ask has been very straightforward since the beginning. I'd like Spotify to have a transparent misinformation policy made available to the public that balances addressing the complex misinformation issues we face today while respecting free speech. And to be meaningful, this policy must be applied across the platform without exceptions. Number 4, personally, I would never want to silence debate about vaccine safety and efficacy because the lack of critical discussion actually increases vaccine hesitancy. Here's my 2 cents on that. You bet it does. You bet it does. I felt that way this last 2 years. There's been zero debate. So let me continue here with her post. However, rigorous debate that benefits the public does not include the dissemination of misinformation. Number 5, Both censorship and misinformation are threats to public health and democracy, rather than falling prey to believing that we have to tolerate one to protect against the other. Our collective well-being is best served when we approach debates and discourse with curiosity, critical thinking, and a healthy skepticism of false dichotomies. I've enjoyed the creative collaboration with Spotify, and I appreciate how the leadership has shown up in our meetings over the past week. Now that Spotify has published its misinformation policy and the policy itself appears to address the majority of my concern, I'm in the process of learning how the policy will be applied. I'm hoping that the podcast will be back next week. No matter what I say or what I do, some of you will be frustrated, disappointed, or pissed off. That's okay. I will never stop sharing my opinions and beliefs to make anyone feel better or more comfortable or to gain your approval. Not now, not ever. For those of you who expressed concerns about censorship/misinformation issues, asked for more information, and engaged in real dialogue, thanks. I appreciate the conversation. Stay awkward, brave, and kind, Brene. All right, let's talk about this. The first thing that I want to share with you is my feelings on misinformation. I think labeling anything as misinformation is the silliest thing I've ever heard of. Silly, outright silly. And the reason I think that is because this. Human beings, all human beings, whether you are Brene Brown or whether you're the head of Spotify or Joe Rogan or me, all human beings spew misinformation. I'm spewing it right now. This is my subjective perception of what's going on. These are my subjective ideas, my subjective thoughts of what's going on. They're coming out and being filtered through my past experiences, my beliefs about myself and the world I live in, my perception of myself and the world I live in, my perception of Brene Brown, my perception of Joe Rogan and Spotify, and last but not least, my limited knowledge and understanding of the world. And again, to clarify, all human beings have limited knowledge and understanding of the world. And no human being is omnipotent and godlike enough to have the authority to put a label that says what another human being said is misinformation. And I'll go further. No group of human beings should ever have the ability to put a label that says what one person or group of people said is misinformation. No one should have that ability. It's silly. I have never once in my entire life thought to label something misinformation because I know that everything is simply information. Take it or leave it, do whatever you want with it. As a free and sentient being that has the ability to choose for themselves, you use it however you want or you don't use it however you want. I believe it's a slippery slope right into the pit of censorship if you start labeling stuff as misinformation. Period. Labeling something as misinformation is walking towards censorship. It's a form of censorship. You are telling someone else how to think about that content. How dare you have the audacity to label something as misinformation and think for me? I have a brain. I will think for myself. Thank you very much. It's audacious. It's not right. It's very wrong to label something as misinformation. It's very wrong to think for other people. No one has that. No human being or group of people should have that right. That's why I think it's silly. I've talked about this on my social media channels before. Throwing the word misinformation around is silly. It's simply information. Or if you want to call it all misinformation, then call it all misinformation. Like I said, I'm giving you misinformation right now. Right? It's my subjective view of the world. Those guests on Joe Rogan's podcast were sharing their subjective view of the world. Now, does it have clout? You bet it does. Doctors who have invested the time, money, and effort to get to where they're at and have firsthand experiential knowledge and understanding of things, that's a lot of clout. Everyone has clout in their own way. You start labeling misinformation and I want to make this point very clear. You are thinking for people. And that is wrong, fundamentally wrong on every level. And the only reason that I believe that is happening is because the powers that be don't want that information to get out. I've said this before on my social media. Either they don't want it to get out, or they think I'm too stupid to understand it and discriminate what I should take and what I shouldn't and how I should use that information. Either way, it's a stupid idea to label something misinformation. I hate to be so blunt about it, but it's important in this context. Freedom of speech and censorship is a no-go. And she even says she's not for censorship, but a little misinformation sprinkled in, or a little labeling of misinformation sprinkled in, that's just fine, apparently. I don't think Spotify should have a misinformation policy. Again, I don't think anything is misinformation. It's just information. Put it into your body wisdom, put it into your data banks, assess whether it's good for you or not good for you, and move on with your life. People who want to label something misinformation are trying to skew the public's behavior. They're trying to make you think a certain way and behave a certain way. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. It is an attempt to control or manipulate someone else's thought process. And that is fundamentally wrong, and I am adamantly against it. The last thing I want to share is, I don't know why Brene Brown and others who are so up in arms about this Joe Rogan thing, why are you choosing this hill to fight for? When for the last 2 years, and I'm not going to name the organizations, that's the mainstream media and it's other people, they've been spewing information from the get-go. And a lot of it. And it's well documented, and CNN is in deep you-know-what for doing it. And the ratings are down because people don't want any part of it. Calling a drug that was given the Nobel Peace Prize for use in human beings as an animal drug only, and trying to change the perception of that drug in the American minds is wrong. And they've been called out for it. And I have seen no one outraged at that. No one. Doesn't make sense to me. You know, mainstream media purveyor is the biggest purveyor of misinformation on the planet, and no one calls them out. No one pauses their podcast to think about what they're doing. No one wants to see their misinformation policy. It's a double standard, it's hypocritical, and it's stupid. And until we get past it and address it, we're never going to go forward. Adamantly. I don't want misinformation. Hey, I don't want misinformation labels on CNN. And they're the biggest purveyor of misinformation on the planet. Right? Because I can think for myself. I know what they say is total bullshit all the time. That's why I don't watch the mainstream media. I learned that lesson 10 plus years ago. I mean, see, I took care of myself. And people will take care of themselves. See, I have faith in human beings. Human beings aren't stupid like some people who want to label things as misinformation think they are. See, that, make no mistake about it, my friend. If someone says they want to label something as misinformation to protect you, what they're really saying is they don't trust you to think for yourself. They think you're too stupid to get that or to understand that content. They're thinking for you. They want to think for you. It is fundamentally wrong, and I'll never be for it. So that's my 2 cents. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, are you a journaler? Do you know the power of journaling? I know it, and that's why I created the Focus and Flow journaling practice. These are my journals. I have a big journal, 5x8, and I have a little journal, 3x5, for walks and when I'm out and about. What the Focus and Flow journaling practice is, it's 2 parts. The first part helps you feel better right now, helps you love your life right now, by focusing on the positive aspects that you have in your life, the things you are grateful for, things you love and appreciate. That's part 1. Part 2 is a scripting component. It's super powerful, help you get the clarity and put down the details of the life that you want. And most importantly, helps you get the feeling, helps you understand the feeling around the life that you want. It's a scripting component, and it's super powerful. You can learn more at gmarkphillips.com/courses. And you'll find that and a number of my other courses. This course, depending on when you're watching the video, is in beta mode, which is you and I on a recorded Zoom call. I'm going to give you the PDF with all the details on how to do it. You can fold that paper up, put it into your journal of your choice. See, the beauty of it is you get to choose whatever journal you like. If you like bigger journals, smaller journals, whatever you want. I do recommend it is a written journal because of the power of putting pen to paper, but you could go digital if you really want. And sometimes I do part one in digital format, and then I transfer it to the actual journal later that day or within a few days. But that's the Focus of Flow journaling practice. It's super powerful. gmarkphillips.com/courses. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Let me know down below what your thoughts on misinformation are, right? I know this is a polarizing topic, but it's so important for me to share this and express myself because I feel very strongly about what's going on in the world. And I definitely come down on the side of I am not for labeling anything information. I'm obviously not for censoring anyone or deplatforming anyone because every human being has the right to be heard. And also, every human being has the right to listen to the human beings they want to listen to without being interrupted by someone else saying it's misinformation. I'll decide that for myself. Thank you very much. I can do that. And you can do that. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.